It's a KPFA morning show, 9 minutes after 8:09 on your Wednesday morning. Good morning, I'm Amy Allison. Philip Moulters on vacation this week. Coming up this hour on the KPFA morning show, the battle in the Republic of Congo, the latest amid reports of war crimes in the region, and UN Secretary calling for peacekeepers to be deployed. Then a talk on particle physics with the author of The Lightness of Being. All that's coming up, so stay tuned. Right now, we turn to the Congo, where UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon is calling for 3,000 more peacekeepers to be sent to the eastern area of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and a ceasefire in the eastern part of the country so that aid workers can help up to 100,000 there. The UN Secretary Council Security Council is considering Ban Ki-moon's request and will likely decide it by the end of the month. To help us understand the situation in the Congo is Kambale Musavuli, an engineering student at the North Carolina A&T State University. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me on your show.
I know you're working with a group called Friends of the Congo, and for many who aren't familiar with the basis of the conflict, perhaps you can explain why there is violence and ongoing war there. What are the forces that have led to this point?
The central root cause of the conflict in the Congo is the scramble for Congo's mineral resources. We have different militia groups, specifically Laurent Kunda, the rebel leader in the eastern part of the Congo, that have controlled that area for now almost 4 or 5 years. And the plight of the fight has been going on since 1996. And through the resource exploitation of the Congo, we've seen nearly 6 million people dying through the scramble for Congo's resources.
Talk about which resources that are being fought over right now.
Specifically in the Virunga Park, you have the tin and coltan. And coltan being a mineral found in cell phone, laptops, DVD players, and VCRs. But the pretext that the rebel leader is using is that he is there to protect the minority Tutsi group in the eastern Congo while causing desolation, literally. And as you speak to people on the ground, you hear mass murder. Just the reports that came out yesterday that they killed 26 people in a village as a form of basically putting fear into the villagers to continue to be displaced. Now we have, since August, 200,000 people displaced, added to the 1.5 million people already displaced in the Congo. And that becomes a humanitarian crisis that needs everyone's help to actually end the conflict. And the reason it's not stopping a 12-year conflict is because the central root cause of the conflict has not been addressed. They have tried to solve the conflict with bringing more UN troops in, bringing more military power, understanding that more military power will only cause more deaths, instead of bringing a political solution using the political will of world leaders to end the conflict and stop the exploitation of the Congo.
So you don't support the UN sending in 3,000 more peacekeepers?
Definitely not. They are very well aware of what are the forces in place. They are very well aware of their location and who support these forces. But if they are not addressing the issue that the Congo is being attacked by Rwanda, which supports the proxy force Laurent Kunda in the Congo, they are not addressing the issue.
So the political solution that would deal with the struggle over resources, specifically coltan, what would that look like?
We would like to use people that have Rwanda's government ear, such as Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, Cindy McCain, Reverend Rick Warren, to bring the Rwandan government and the Congolese government to the table and end the exploitation through a Western corporation. The reason I'm continuously stating that is because the forces against the Congo are known. The corporation exploiting are known. The government, the foreign government attacking the Congo also are known. But bringing more troops in, there will be more battle, and we've already seen nearly 6 million people dead. So having the political will to put pressure on the Rwandan government to end the conflict, to stop their exploitation and not take bribes from Western corporation, will end the conflict.
Well, let's talk more about those Western corporations. You mentioned that the Congo's rich in resources. I believe it contains 60 to 80% of the world's reserves of coltan, which are included in cell phones and video games. Which Western corporations are involved in the receiving end of these reserves that may be profiting from the ongoing conflict there?
There are numerous firms, and we have that listed on our website as well. We'll go ahead and start with the latest reports that came from the Dan Ryder piece called All Mine. It came out in September. It speaks about Freeport-McMoRan and how they're exploiting the resources of the Congo. Specifically now talking about coltan, you have a company here in actually three companies, but I'm going to specifically talk about Cabot Corporation. Cabot Corporation is based out of Boston, Massachusetts. And this company was listed by the United Nations as one of the 85 companies illegally exploiting the resources of the Congo through proxy militia forces. And Cabot Corporation was so interesting about it that the Secretary of Energy, or George W. Bush, Samuel Bodman, was the CEO of the company before he left that office to become Secretary of Energy. And I understand the power that creates of Western corporation with higher position that will make it easy for them to get mining concession while providing support to militia groups on the ground. But we have anywhere from 100 to 150 companies illegally exploiting. You have a lot of U.S.-based companies. You have a lot of UK-based companies as well. And we have all those companies that are exploiting resources in the Congo through proxy militia forces listed on our website.
So Cabot Corporation, based in Boston, is one of, you said, 150 Western companies who are contributing to the conflict there. And so you have not only military and militia from various sides who are fighting, but also militias that are funded by these Western corporations involved in the conflict?
Yes. I mean, you also have De Beers. CNN did a piece, I think in 2005, if I'm not mistaken, from the report that De Beers received diamond from rebel controlled area, and they made $35 million off of those diamonds in 1999. De
Beers being a South African company.
Correct. They also have a U.S. headquarters here as well, even though they are based from South Africa. You have Kemet Corporation out of Greenville, South Carolina. You have IBM. They have received team from the Congo, rebel control area team as well. I think that was in 2006. And there are so many numerous firms. What is very interesting is that the way you have to look at the supply chain of how they are receiving these resources, because all these companies have a PR statement that they are not exploiting the Congo. You know, you can call the company, they will have that. But there's some of the resources they receive that from Rwanda. Now, if I'm speaking about Rwanda, Rwanda does not have any mineral. So if Rwanda is selling gold to any company, is selling coltan, because they export coltan as well. And these companies are buying that from Rwanda, knowing that they do not have it, is that they are continuously supporting the war by just putting a blind eye. Because
Rwanda is involved in the conflict in the Congo.
Exactly.
And gets their resources to then in turn sell it to the Western companies.
Exactly.
Well, we'll be following this situation very closely. Friendsofthecongo.org is where to get more information. Kambale Musavuli, thank you so much for joining us on the morning show.
Thank you for having me on your show.
19 minutes after 8 on your Wednesday morning. I'm Amy Allison. We'll be right back.